What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are reacting to Hackleburg, the unsurvivable tornado. We've done tornado videos in the past. We know how dangerous it can be, but apparently this one is a crazy tornado.
Oh.
Before we get into the video,
please smash that subscribe button because we are en route to 100k.
Let's do it, guys, and let's check this out.
Imagine living in a small town and then you hear your neighbors yelling. You go outside and there's a dark cloud coming right towards you. Instincts kick in and you rush to the nearest storm shelter. Inside, you begin to hear a rumble that gets louder and louder, and then the unthinkable happens. The shelter's roof is torn away. You did everything right, but it still wasn't enough. For those caught in the path, this was truly an unsurvivable tornado.
You know what's mad? Them shelters are built to deal with this stuff. They're built like very secure, proper materials to avoid tornadoes being able to break them. But this one said, nope, roof is coming off regardless.
That's so sad.
That is wild.
The story of this monster began the day prior on the 26th, when forecasters at the Storm Prediction Center were aware of a dangerous pattern aligning in the southeast. Extreme shear would overlap an area of unstable air. A rare high risk was issued over Alabama and the surrounding states. Later that night, storms swept over the region, producing over 100 tornadoes and a large swath of severe winds. While this system never produced any violent tornadoes, it did, however, knock out most telecommunications in the area, which would have huge implications later in the day. Over the next few hours, the atmosphere rapidly recovered as winds from the south transported warm, unstable air from the Gulf of Mexico. And in response to these worsening conditions, the Storm Prediction Center further increased the tornado risk to a whopping 45% chance of tornadoes over Alabama. And to make matters worse, another storm system in northern Alabama left an outflow boundary that supercharged the tornado ingredients. By 2 p.m., storms had already initiated across the region, and numerous strong tornadoes had formed. In Mississippi, the very first EF5 of the day touched down near the town of Philadelphia, and in central Alabama, a tornado was plowing right through the heart of Coleman. But soon after, storms began to pop on the Alabama-Mississippi border along that dangerous boundary, and within minutes, a tornado formed west of Hamilton, Alabama. By early afternoon, explosive convection was ongoing across the southeast, and right on the Mississippi-Alabama border, a group of new updrafts formed right along that boundary.
So many of them.
Soon after, the southern updraft took over, and a large hook formed on radar. Jason Jarrett saw the rapid rotation in the clouds. He captured these 3 photos of the storm's wall cloud as the storm moved northeast away from him. At the same time, the National Weather Service issues a tornado warning for the storm, and minutes later, a tornado touches down west of Hamilton, Alabama. While the tornado races northeast, Lily Hartley is on her way to church. She notices something on the horizon and pulls over to get a view, and what she records is shocking. A tornado is moving right through her home.
Imagine just seeing that in the sky. You have to alert someone, like, you've got to call authorities. It's your responsibility, because a lot of people might not see that coming because they're busy just living their lives at home.
Hometown. Lily is the first person to capture video of the tornado, although she is certainly not the last, as the tornado is rapidly gaining strength.
Wild.
After passing Lily, the tornado begins traveling along Highway 43, the busiest road in the area that goes straight into the town of Hackleburg. Kayla Stidham snaps this photo of the tornado. In a short amount of time, the tornado has grown into a wedge and is now producing EF4 damage. Almost immediately after, the tornado intensifies even further and inflicts EF5 damage for the first time.
No way.
Abigail Roblero and 7 others watch the dark cloud from their back porch. As lightning strikes in front of them, they spot the silhouette of the tornado looming over the tree line.
That's crazy.
They rush to shelter in the basement with less than a minute to spare before the tornado overtakes her home. At first, everything is quiet, but then it's as if an explosion occurs. The entire house is thrown into the air and disappears, leaving all 8 buried in debris. By some miracle.
Imagine you just cut, because they got basements to go underground to protect themselves, but imagine just coming out of that basement saying, I wonder how bad the damage is, and that's your house. Like, you've got no house now. Your whole property is gone. it's actually really sad. Like,
I think we asked this in our previous tornado reactions. There's insurance, right?
well, I believe in America, you have to have house. I don't know if you have to have house insurance, but people do tend to go for house insurance,
I mean, I
especially
would.
in areas that are known to have high risk of tornadoes. Some states won't have high tornado risk, so they might not. But there are specific states where you're like, all right, like tornadoes tend to come through every once in a while. I need to make sure I got it.
Everyone survives. 1 mile
Everyone
to the
survived
west, Ronald Elrod captures 2 photos of the monster as it's bearing down on Abigail.
Dominating the whole sky.
At the same time, Keith Banks is chasing the tornado, paralleling the path as it races towards Hackleburg. He records and is left completely speechless because of what he was witnessing.
My God. How'd you even deal with that?
While Keith drives towards town, Tabitha Harper and her fiancé, Christopher Dunn, are seconds away from impact. Tabitha makes it to an underground shelter in time, but Christopher was in the house, gathering things for protection. Sadly, Christopher doesn't make it to safety in time and is killed, along with her 9-month-old dog that is thrown over 1 mile. Patrick Kelly photographs the monster entering the heart.
In that time, you don't have time to be grabbing fish. You need to go straight into shelter.
If he just didn't try grab stuff, he probably would have survived that.
So sad.
Of Hackleburg. Resident Tommy Quinn runs to take shelter underground with his dad and brother. Quinn's dad clenches onto the shelter door with all his strength to protect his sons. As the winds intensify, the steel roof of the shelter is bent outwards. Tommy recounted that the tornado sounded like a low organ note. After the tornado passes, Tommy and his father run over to the cries next door from the swept slab of the Emmanuel Baptist Church. They begin digging up debris, trapping the church's pastor, his wife, and their several children. Miraculously, everyone here survives.
Oh wow, they're lucky.
The tornado is now moving into the most densely populated part of town. Cars are thrown more than 200 yards.
I swear, you know these tornadoes, it's like they know where to go. This tornado is literally traveling down the M-way, going towards a busier city. Like, yeah, I know there's a busy city down the road. Of everywhere it can go, it's literally
where there's active.
Is making sure it
life.
goes to their most active spot, like, and it's breaking things on the way. But it's like, how does it? Like, what are the odds that it's going to end up there? Like, it's
And in one home, the foundation slab is cracked as the home is forcibly ejected from the concrete pad. At another home, William Luttrell and his grandson are sucked through their living room window, sustaining gruesome injuries, but thankfully surviving. However, most people in this area are not as fortunate. According to the town's chief of police, finding the death toll took nearly a week because everything in town was reduced to shreds.
Oh my God.
Ultimately, it was determined that 14 residents died on these 2 blocks. East of the denser neighborhoods in Hackleburg, the tornado impacts a multi-building complex, and one of the large 2-story apartment buildings is swept away. However, the largest structure impacted in Hackleburg is the Wrangler gene plant, which sustains a direct hit from the core of the tornado. Genes from the plant are swept up by the tornado and are found over 40 miles away.
Oh my
Of the 13
God,
people on site,
miles.
1 employee is killed. After devastating Hackleburg, the tornado continues by mowing down the dense forest while moving at a blistering pace of 52 miles per hour. Despite moving through rural Alabama at this point, local Beretta Saint is just east of the tornado and records as the beast passes by. In Beretta's video, you can see how the tornado had grown into a massive behemoth and looked nothing like the stereotypical tornado we picture in our mind.
Yeah, it's not.
This tornado was truly hell on earth. The tornado is sustaining its immense EF5 strength and is now approaching the town of Phil Campbell.
10-4.
Phil Campbell 3 to 911. I got rotation coming through Phil Campbell right now.
It ain't where I'm at.
There's getting to cover, man.
The first block in Phil Campbell struck are the homes on Woodard Drive. Nearly every home here is leveled in EF5 fashion. The tornado now moves along Highway 237, which leads to downtown Phil Campbell. The winds of the tornado are so strong, a storm cellar has its roof torn off. But it's unknown if anyone was sheltering here at the time. Just down the road, several framed homes are reduced to bare foundations. The tornado clips Stall Club Circle, and a well-built home is swept away. More homes are completely destroyed as the tornado ravages through town. James Keller Jr. and his wife are frantically driving home to get to their storm shelter, but right as they pull into their driveway, their car is lifted off the ground and launched into a tree, killing James. All their neighbors' homes are destroyed, each being associated with fatalities. Patricia and Donnie Gentry, Edna Nix, James Kelly Jr., and Martha Pace all died on this block. Here winds were so violent, a 25-section foot of asphalt was torn from the road. As the tornado moves into the eastern side of Phil Campbell, resident Tommy Sanders is watching the tornado move towards him from outside his home, getting bigger and bigger. He takes a photo as the tornado tears through the center of Phil Campbell before racing inside for shelter. 30 seconds later, the core of the tornado overtakes him. Sanders is left in a critical state when he's found buried in rubble. Miraculously, he survives, but his neighbor...
But you know, like him, does his house not have a shelter then? Because if it's known that tornadoes go there, he should have a shelter, but it seems like he took cover in his house rather than in a shelter. Maybe he didn't expect it to be that strong.
Maybe not all homes have a shelter.
Yeah, comment below how it is in the US, guys, in some states. Like the states they're talking about, do majority of these houses, if not all houses, have a basement at least to try and, you know, hide in? Comment below.
I think all houses have a... I mean, from the reactions we've done, I think all houses have a basement, but I don't think it's enough. It needs to be like a solid shelter.
But I think there's basements and there's shelters. Shelters are obviously made for this stuff.
Yeah.
But then no, the basements are made to like it's a like a home shelter. Oh. It might not be as strong as a shelter, but it's made for this as well, not just to kind of live there.
Not so lucky, with Jack Tenev and Dagmar Layden being killed next door, as well as another woman to his south. On the block over, the tornado takes the lives of 10-year-old Ricky Knox and Jerry and Carol Weller. In total, 21 people were killed in Phil Campbell, and the tornado was still maintaining its strength.
That's 14
Raymond
before.
McKinney, who's working at the time, captures the tornado as it leaves Phil Campbell.
That's huge.
The massive tornado quickly moves along the horizon and is soon out of view.
If it swings around, we're done.
The tornado enters the community of Oak Grove. While this area is more sparsely populated, every building it hits is destroyed. A large brick building is swept off its foundation, killing 2. Another home is destroyed, where a Corvette is tossed over 200 yards.
Wow.
Oak Grove resident Rod Smith is totally unaware of the oncoming tornado. He senses something is wrong and goes outside to watch from his front porch. Everything is eerily calm, but then he sees mist begin to spiral upwards into the sky, and suddenly a black wall appears, plunging him into darkness. Instincts kick in, and he rushes to a storm cellar, barely securing the door as the tornado's pressure begins to pull. Inside the shelter, the pressure drop is so extreme, he could feel his stomach being pulled from within. Many storms similar to this are reported along the tornado's path.
That's crazy. You feel your insides like pulling in, like it's pulling your insides towards it, even though your body is resistant. That's crazy. That's actually such a scary thought when you do. That's how powerful these things are.
In one storm cellar, the sudden and drastic pressure drop ruptured a root canal, and in another case, someone reported having their tear ducts ripped. This is all that was left of Rod Smith's home.
Oh, that's so sad, man.
Around the same area, a local records the tornado as it passes through Oak Grove. This video shows just how dark and menacing it was to be out in front of this tornado, a sight very few people will ever experience, and something you never want to see. Up to this point, the tornado has continuously grown in size and is now a staggering 1 mile wide, destroying everything in its path like a giant bulldozer sweeping across the Alabama landscape. The tornado then tracks into the community of Mount...
It's just not stopping, is it? It just keeps going.
And bear in mind, it's a mile wide, so it's taking out so much in a mile radius, and it's moving over 50 miles per hour.
Oh my God.
For something that big, moving 50 miles per hour and that wide, that is crazy. And like you said, it's just not stopping.
It's just not. It just keeps going.
It's like the devil's work, this one.
Yeah.
It just keeps going.
Resident Gary Dobbs is a weatherman for Huntsville and spent 4:30 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon giving live coverage to the region for the morning storms. But he went back home for some rest. Dobbs, well aware of the storm heading his way, went outside to report the location of the tornado back to his station.
House.
Right now on the phone is meteorologist Gary Dobbs. Gary, tell us what you're seeing.
I see the rotation now. Wait a minute, I'm getting a good look at the edge. Oh, now I'm hearing the roar.
He's gonna die on the phone. That's out of it.
Hang on a minute. I see a definite debris area. As a matter of fact, it looks like it's coming straight this direction. If I had to judge what this is, it looks like an F4, and I am going to have to go inside. I don't know if you can hear the wind.
Yeah, hear it.
It is picked up, and it is. Well, I got to go inside. Okay.
Gary Dobbs heading into a storm shelter.
Gary drops his phone. The tornado is on top of him. He dives into a closet as his entire house disappears around him and is thrown into his backyard, where he's pelted by debris, sustaining major injuries. Miraculously, the tornado passes before he's killed. Despite his injuries, he uses a 2x4 plank to pry open his storm shelter where others are trapped inside. Gary's home was gone, and the neighboring steakhouse was so violently destroyed that large pieces of concrete foundation had been pulled from the ground.
And you know what it is, like, with the tornadoes, obviously a tornado can kill you in many ways. It could throw you into something, or another way it can kill you is, you know, you might have like kind of survived the tornado, but then it might fling a piece of concrete that lands on your head or on your body somewhere, and that was enough to kill you. Like, there's so many ways you can die in a tornado. It's not just the tornado itself. Is, you know, it's lifting up cars, throwing cars that might hit you. Imagine a car hitting you at like 100 miles per hour.
I feel like you don't even have to just be lifted by the tornado.
Yeah.
Like the commentator just explained, a lot of people said they felt like the insides were coming out. Some people had their root canals ruptured,
So
their tear ducts pulled out. You can literally die from that as well. Imagine I don't know, it's adding so much pressure to your brain.
Your brain just basically scrambles your brain somehow.
Yeah, you can die like that itself.
Or your heart or something.
That's
from the inside.
crazy.
That's scary, man.
The tornado marches onwards, killing livestock and destroying homes, now moving towards Highway 24. At one farm north of the highway, a family and their neighbors seek shelter in their storm cellar.
They acted quick. Get in that shelter, man. ASAP.
They film, waiting, not knowing what was going to happen.
All they can do is pray.
The storm shelter takes a direct hit from the core of the tornado. Fortunately, everyone inside survives without any injuries. When they go outside, they see an unrecognizable scene. Their entire farmstead was turned to rubble, and wood beams were thrown so violently they had penetrated deeply into the ground.
So imagine that
the tornado races onwards towards Langtown. Here, the Mays grocery store is struck, killing owner Lyndon Mays and relative Mary Mays. By now, the tornado has been on the ground for over 50 miles, and damage at the ground is more sporadic and weak. A common behavior when tornadoes are in their weakening state is that they turn to the left right before they vanish. A left turn at this point is a worst case scenario because that puts the storm's trajectory right into the Browns Ferry nuclear power plant, which just so happens to have the lowest safety marks of any nuclear reactor in the country. But this tornado is unlike most tornadoes. After briefly weakening, it re-intensifies and stays on the same course it had been on, now moving towards another target, the Nucor steel plant on Wheeler Lake. It directly impacts the industrial area, although the strongest winds of the tornado thread the needle between two warehouses, with only one building having most of its roof removed.
That could have been worse.
After crossing Wheeler Lake, the tornado makes landfall on the eastern bank in Limestone County. Now on land, the tornado returns to terrorizing towns, moving through the community of...
It's like this tornado's remote controlled by the devil. Like, what is going on? So it went to its weak state. You're thinking it's going to disappear soon. Then it just carried on strong as nails.
Listen,
5
nothing
minutes
was
later.
stopping this tornado that day.
And the worst of it, you can't do anything. You just have to hope.
It's sad because there was so much land destroyed. So many people lost their lives.
Homes.
And it's something that no one can control.
It's not, you can't even like...
Yeah.
do anything.
Like the US military can't even control this, no matter how much money they've got in their, like, you know, military
budget. There's got, I don't know, man.
There's no way to stop it.
Some sort of, I don't know how, but some sort of like technology.
Listen, they would have figured that out by now.
Yeah,
they would have figured it out
ages ago.
Yeah.
Tanner. Tanner is no stranger to violent tornadoes. It was hit by 2 F5s during the 1974 super outbreak, making it the only town hit by 3 F or EF5 tornadoes. Creepily, Tanner's elevation also happens to be 666, the number of the beast. After cutting through the south side of town, the tornado approaches the intersection of Interstate 65 and Highway 24, where storm chaser Charles Robertson is recording the tornado as it tracks directly towards him.
No way. Yeah, literally it's coming towards him. That is nuts.
We have no time to go back.
He says do something.
Eventually, Charles realizes he is directly in the path and escapes to the north just before the tornado overtakes his location. Not everyone here manages to escape in time, as several semi-trucks are overturned when the tornado crosses the interstate. At the same time, a resident to the east is recording the tornado from their front porch. They capture the rain-wrapped monster as it moves through the south side of Athens. Even though you can't see the detailed tornado, you can still see the left edge.
Yeah, oh there it is, yeah.
A beast is lurking in the rain. It's around this time that Channel 48 News is focusing on the tornado. They observe the storm drawing closer from their live stream camera. Initially, you can only see a thick wall of rain, but within seconds, the tornado reveals itself.
So we have a large wedge tornado on our alpha camera moving directly towards the camera.
Eventually, power is lost, cutting the live stream, but the radar keeps scanning. The last radar scan shows the circulation right at the center of the image as it's being destroyed by the tornado.
That's a mess up thing. You know what he was saying about it was like covered by the rain. So when, I don't know if you remember, because it was a while since we've done tornado reactions. They say sometimes tornadoes, they're disguised in like a cloak. So it looks like it's just rain and like smoke. But when it's close enough, you see it and you don't realize how close it is till it's near. It's really bad.
Even though it's only mid-afternoon, the storm is turning day into night. A prison guard videoing from the Limestone Correctional Facility captures how dark the sky gets and how close you need to be before you can actually see the tornado.
Oh my god.
That's like a horror movie, man. They're basically in it.
The tornado passes 100 yards south of the facility, sparing everyone on site.
They're so lucky.
The tornado then moves into the town of Harvest, Alabama, where the Ricks family records the tornado. The tornado was clearly much smaller than it was earlier in its life, but that doesn't mean it's weak. Countless homes near Harvest are struck at EF4 intensity, including the Anderson Hills subdivision. But by the time the circulation crosses Alabama 53, it's finally weakening for good. At 4:50 in the afternoon, the tornado dissipates just east of Harvest, Alabama.
What a lifespan.
Even though this monster had lifted, the rest of Alabama was still enduring an onslaught of strong tornadoes. It was right at this time the Tuscaloosa tornado formed, which would go on to be one of the most prolific tornadoes of the day. And on top of that, another EF5 that impacted the town of Rainsville had yet to form. April 27th set the record for the most tornadoes in one day. 223 tornadoes touched down between 12 a.m. and 12 p.m. But if we compare the Hackleburg tornado to every other tornado, Hackleburg was the most dominant as the longest track and widest EF5 of the day. It was also the deadliest tornado in Alabama state history, killing 71, despite not hitting any large cities. The Hackleburg tornado left a scar that can be clearly seen on satellite imagery,
you can
showing
see it,
how long and intense this tornado truly was. If you ever see something like this coming towards you, your only chance of survival is to get underground, and even then, survival is not guaranteed.
RIP to all those people who were hit by the tornado, and so sad to see all those homes destroyed just like that.
And condolences to the families that lost, loved ones in the tornadoes as well. It's so crazy.
It's a scary thing.
It's not just lives, it's buildings being lost, your home
Memories.
being lost. Yeah, memories. It's so wild.
Yeah, but that's one thing we don't get in the UK. Well, we get tornadoes in the UK, but nowhere near to that degree. They're very small. They're very.
I mean, we've never had a tornado.
I've been to a tornado recently in Manchester. I saw that on the thing. It was actually an all right size, like nowhere near like these, but it was like you could proper see it spiraling. I saw it on Instagram today. But guys, thanks so much for the recommendation. Keep commenting other videos below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. For now, peace out.
Bye.